You are listening to Did You Hear?
Did you hear?
The Johnson County Library Podcast.
We are coming to you
from the Central Resource Library
in Overland Park, Kansas.
This is your Library Insider.
In this episode of Did You Hear, Melissa Horak-Hern and Dave Carson talk about the library's fall programming theme, Unlocking the Mind. Listen in for our fall podcast topics, too.
Welcome to another edition of Did You Hear, the Johnson County Library podcast, where we give you a glimpse behind the curtain, the inside story, if you will. Often on this podcast, we cover so many interesting topics, but today is a unique episode because we're kind of having a show that the topic is about topics. The first part of the show, we're going to talk about our fall theme. Now, very quickly, I should tell you that here at the library, we operate just like the school calendar. So we have trimesters. We have summer period, we have a fall trimester, and we have a spring trimester. And so as you know, the summer was a universe of stories. And today we are going to announce what our fall theme is. And to do that, we have a special guest with us, and I would like her to introduce herself to you.
Hi, I'm Melissa Horak-Hern, and I am one of the civic engagement librarians for Johnson County Library.
Well, welcome. And how long have you been working here at the Johnson County Library?
I've been with JCL for 1 year and 1 month, Dave.
Is there any particular memory so far that you've had that really stands out?
Yes. When I very first started, that very first week, I had kind of a forced bonding session with a bunch of my new colleagues in a van. We went on a tour of the branches, Dave.
Okay.
I don't know where you went with that, but we went all over the county, and it was fantastic to see all our branches together.
That is pretty cool, and every single branch is unique. And so, as a patron that might be listening to this podcast, ask yourself this: how many branches have you visited? Because, boy, there's a difference between Spring Hill and Lenexa City Center Library.
There is. I mean, we all work for the same people, and we all, have the same processes and the same standards and same rules.
Collection.
But there's a very different flavor to each one.
For sure. Architecturally, geographically. Yeah.
It's very cool.
And I think each library feels like they have their own unique culture, and it's super
They
cool.
do, and it seems to reflect the community around them.
Yeah. So we are broadcasting from the Central Resource Library, and the theme for fall is good for all of those wonderful branches. And so what is our fall theme?
Our fall theme is Unlocking the Mind.
Unlocking the Mind.
Unlocking the Mind. This fall, from
great.
September through December, we're going to be exploring all the ways that people can unlock, recharge, expand, and engage their minds at their library.
Wow, that sounds just great. And so we're coming off the summer theme, which is a universe of stories.
Sure are.
And so that's more kid-oriented and teen-oriented, wouldn't you say?
It is, and that's kind of the way that we organize our themes. In the summertime, since it's time for summer reading program, the youth folks lead the charge.
Okay.
In the fall, it's time for the grown-ups to take center stage, although we do plan for everybody. We don't just focus on grown-ups. We have something for everybody every trimester.
All age groups, yeah.
That's right. And then in the spring, since we've got our big teen zine Elementia,
right,
that's the focus for spring.
Okay. Well, that totally makes sense. It seems like a theme like Unlocking the Mind has a lot of potential to cover a lot of ground. How did we determine this theme?
Well, we look for something that is broad and kind of conceptual and takes a lot of feeling around and talking through before we start to find all of the different ways that it can be defined and all of the different aspects that we can highlight at the library. So with Unlocking the Mind, some of the things that we thought of first were, brain science, mental health, wellness. And from there, we started to dig deeper and deeper and find different ways to express all of those things.
So this reminds me a little bit of our theme that was breaking free. And one of the things that about that theme was that it was, very empowering and helping people improve, which is definitely part of the mission of the library, where we're trying to cultivate a collective wisdom of our community. And we want you to be the best you that you can be and grow and learn and explore and, find all kinds of great information. I think this theme lends itself to that as well. And I think the programming that we have coming up really is an indication of that, right?
Yeah, in our planning, we kind of got hooked onto those 4 verbs that we thought you could do with your brain at the library.
So what are those?
Unlock, recharge, expand, and engage.
Oh,
and
neat.
The way that we saw it was you can unlock your creativity.
Okay.
And, explore ways to express yourself at the library. You can recharge yourself, dive into like a cozy mystery or a guilty pleasure romance to give yourself a little me time. You can expand your mind. Say with our e-resources, you could learn a new language through Rosetta Stone, or you could take classes on lynda.com. And you can engage your mind with some of our programming where you come and have conversations with people. But we wanted to kind of blow the lid off of what people would expect they could do, like in those veins of thought at the library. And we've got some really good events on the horizon for people.
So let's talk about programs. I mean, it seems like this is under those 4 words that, what did you call those?
We called them our 4 verbs. They were our four guiding verbs when we were...
guiding verbs. I like that.
Yeah, and that was just when we were planning, we realized that everything we were thinking of kind of fell under those. It was really convenient.
It lets people know that there's some method behind the madness and that, hopefully this episode gives you a little insight into the making of the sausage. And if you're a vegan, then it's the making of the vegan sausage and whatever vegan sausage is called. What are some of these great programs that we have to offer?
Well, we kick off at the end of September on the 20th with screenings of Inside Out, the movie Inside Out that came out a couple of years ago, the animated feature for families. And we're going to have resilience experts from Johnson County Mental Health there to help families understand how they can help their kids prepare for moves and bounce back from tough situations and deaths and things like that. Those screenings are going to be at the Lenexa City Center and then out at Gardner.
Okay.
We've got a bunch of makerspace workshops coming up on things like sewing and coding, so that if you wanted to try out something new and you had been hesitant, you can join some other folks and learn something new. Something that I'm really excited about, we're expanding the tabletop games to, I think that we were doing them in 3 locations before, and now I believe that we've 4. Now I think we've got, 6 or 7?
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and we're also bringing specialists in the game of Go. It's an ancient game, and we've got enthusiasts here in town who are going to be teaching classes on how to play this game at a couple of different branches in our system.
Interesting.
Yeah. We've also got some local authors who are working on the second book in series coming to speak with us. We're calling that a sequel state of mind. And they're coming to talk to aspiring writers and enthusiasts of their work as well.
Okay.
One of my favorites is Unlocking Empathy. And that one is near and dear to my heart because we've got folks from Wayside Waifs who are coming with animals.
Oh, neat.
And they're going to describe to us the animal brains and our brains and how they're similar and different and how they affect each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is fascinating.
Yeah, so deeply nerdy brain science with puppies.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm excited about that one.
That is exciting. Any others you want to mention?
Oh,
and
so
it's
many.
Okay it's okay because we do not have to cover every event because I think this is a good time to let people know that, yes, we will have an upcoming episode that is our fall preview, and we will go in depth with all of our events. And in just a moment, we'll tell you all of the podcast episode topics that we have determined are going to really give you the inside story of the Johnson County Library coming up for the fall trimester. But before I do that, I would like to make an announcement if I could. And that is the person that you were just hearing, Melissa Horak-Hern, is our new co-host of the Did You Hear podcast. So
Yay.
Congratulations and welcome. I don't know if congratulations because it's a lot of work.
Oh, I think so. Let's pretend that I won a contest. I think that's a good thing. And I like work, so I won more work.
Okay, well, it is a lot of fun. And I'll tell you this, if you are a lifelong learner like myself, it's the perfect place for you because you get to hear so many different topics, so many different perspectives, a lot of different points of view, and from very interesting, articulate, intelligent librarians.
Yeah, I am stoked about it because I am new to the library system, so I think this will be a great way to get to know a lot of people.
For sure.
And I have lots of questions that now I have a great platform to ask. And I bet it's a lot of things that our listeners have been wondering about too.
Great. Well, we are definitely building an audience, and those of you out here that are a regular listener of the Did You Hear podcast, please tell a friend. You can go to jocolibrary.podbean, and that's a good place where you can go to subscribe, or go to jocolibrary.org/didyouhear. And there are several different ways for you to subscribe to the podcast. You can go to your favorite podcatcher. Maybe that's Stitcher, maybe that's Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts or some other crazy podcatcher that we don't even know the name of, but you're just so cool that you're the only one that has it.
It's what the cool kids
let's
are
call
using.
it Pod Tripper or
Pod Tripper?
whatever. Just do a search for Joco Library or Did You Hear? And that's a good way to find us. And then just click that subscribe button and our podcast will be sent directly to you. Well, why would you want to do that, Melissa?
I bet it's because we are going to answer all of the things you've ever wondered about libraries.
Probably not.
Oh.
But I'll tell you this. These are our topics for the fall trimester. So we're going to start off with our fall event preview. So it's our fall programs preview. And we usually bring in folks from the communications experience team, the communications division of that, and the programming and marketing folks. And so they give you a detailed look at a lot of the highlights of the programs that we'll have for all ages and all interests. And so that is going to be a lot of fun. Quick little fun fact. Our most popular episode last trimester, take a guess of what it was.
Wow.
It was the summer program preview.
Really?
It was, yeah.
Because
by far.
there was one where we talked about romance novels, and that was pretty fun because there was some good pun usage.
And we had a podcast with a freaking astronaut.
How
and
is
you
that
would-
not burning
right?
up the internet tubes?
I think, it shows that, number one, what's most important to our podcast listeners is what's going on at the library, because they love the library.
I think so.
And then-
So do I.
Yeah. Although you should go listen to the astronaut podcast because it's really awesome. He's a freaking astronaut. Did I mention that? So another episode is our music spotlight. And so what we're going to do is have our local arts librarian, Brian Vole, come in, and he is going to hand pick one local musician featured on our local music blog on the website, and we're going to have just one per trimester. So he's going to make it a good one, and they're going to come in, they're going to play a little music, and they're going to talk about the creative process and how they fit into the library and maybe some of what they like about our collection.
It's like a tiny shelf concert.
Yeah,
See what I did there?
that's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should probably change the name of that to the Tiny Shelf. That's good. Kind of in the same vein, the next episode is Fall Exhibiting Artists. Now, this is a little different than bringing in a musician because we're going to bring in multiple artists all at one time, and we're going to ask them questions and get 3 different perspectives from these folks that create art. And so it's going to give you a lot of insight on the creative process and how they work and the choices that they make And I think that's going to be a really fascinating episode.
That's cool. That's something that I always wonder about. Like, what was an artist thinking when they chose those colors? Or, what kind of something were they able, what kind of catharsis did they get out of the process and the creation?
Right.
I can't wait for those.
Yeah, for sure. After that, we have our fall author interview. And that author, we're not going to tell you just yet. But we're going to tell you this. It's going to be amazing. We've got a library of over 400 people that are employed, and people know people. That's all I'm saying. So be looking forward to that one. Then each month you can look forward to a visit from Greg Windsor and the folks that he has on his Reader's Advisory team. And they always do such a great job because they do a deep dive into different genres. Greg himself always knows all the new books that are coming out. And then he does a really good job of bringing in other librarians that have, particular interests. Maybe it's Korean drama or goth literature. Who knows? All kinds of different things. And so we'll have 4 of those episodes, 1 a month. One of the things I'm looking forward to doing is we're going to have branch audio tours. And so we're going to start with the oldest branches in the system. We'll be going through these branches. We're going to talk to the branch managers and have them point out some of the unique features of their branch. And who knows where that will lead, but I think it's going to be a good time.
Are we going to take them into the basements?
What's in the basement?
That's what they want to know.
It's just storage boxes.
Yeah, it's just book carts without wheels, unfortunately.
So as previously mentioned, we're going to have one of our topics for an episode is collection selection. And this gets deep into everything that you didn't know about how our collection is selected. When we weed things, why we weed things.
What makes a kid book versus
and what weeding means, by the way.
book.
Weeding is taking stuff out of the collection, right? And
we pull the dandelions out of nonfiction.
Right. And so the interesting thing about this topic is we threw it to Facebook. We said, what are some topics that you would really like to learn a little bit more about the inside story of the library? And most of those questions we clustered together to come up with this episode, Collection Selection. And I think it's going to be really interesting.
That'll be a fun one. Those are great folks who do our selecting, too. It'll be fun to listen to them talk about their process and their passion.
For sure. Now, one that is very interesting to me, and since I just recently bought a house not too long ago, it's called Your House History.
Oh,
and
yes.
So we're going to have some local history experts talk about the Johnson County area and how unique it is for its architecture, for its geology, because, these houses are sitting on top of all kinds of goodness that you should probably be aware of. And then also how to navigate all the research tools that we have at the library so that you can know more about your house and its history. So that should be a good one.
That'll be a fun one.
For sure. This is another patron-submitted topic that we're going to do for an episode. Return fines. Do you know what that means?
I'm afraid that we're going to have to share with them some of the things that we found in the Dropbox.
That's right. People return things in their books, and a lot of them are just fascinating. Whether it's that book that was 50 years overdue and suddenly shows up, or if it's just a really cute note from a child. It is just going to be a great episode. So look forward to that one.
I think my all-time favorite was a book that was returned and the patron had taped and taped the sticky note onto the book to be sure that we really got a hold of it. And she told us that the book was rotten and told us exactly why and how disappointed she was that she had lost those 3 hours reading that book.
That is the exact kind of insight that we're hoping to provide in the Return Fines episode. Then the next episode, what goes into planning our events? That was another question that our patrons had asked. And so there is a lot of thought and planning that goes in.
There sure is.
Yeah. And
a lot of asking questions and a lot of info gathering and a lot of thinking.
A lot of planning. Yeah, for sure. A lot of coordination. So that will be interesting. And then this is a topic that you're going to love, but you don't know that you're going to love it. And it is really kind of library geekdom. And we're going to tell you the difference between a page, a clerk, and a librarian. And you might not know that there's a difference between the types of staff that are out there on the floor that are there to help you. And the people that we're bringing in have been all three. I think that's just fascinating.
That's the way to get to know a library.
That's right.
They have done everything you need to do here.
Then we are going to do answers. If you've ever had a question and you've gone to our website and you filled out the form on our answers page, a librarian has gotten back to you with an answer. And so we are going to have a show dedicated to the most interesting questions that have been submitted on answers, and you will leave this episode wiser, if not entertained.
Wiser and better looking.
Probably you're gonna,
We'll say it. I'm okay with.
Okay.
We guarantee it.
The next episode, we just call library hacks.
Library hacks. What
Yeah.
are library hacks, Dave?
You're just gonna have to tune in and find out. But basically, it's going to be a lot of unique things that not everybody knows about to use the library and get what you want. So we'll tell you how to be the first one in line when a new book comes out. We'll tell you how to put your holds on hold when you're away for vacation. All kinds of little tips like that. And
So my copy of Where the Crawdads Sing won't come in when I'm on vacation?
That's right.
Wow.
And then the last topic that we have on this list is life hacking. And I don't know if you'll be joining me in on this, but I am going to spend 1 week of my life living off of, well, I'm going to eat and I'm going to drink, but the rest of it is just using library resources.
Well, there's a snack machine.
This is not extreme podcasting, but
come on, man.
that should be a very fun episode too. And I should mention that all these topics that I just mentioned, it's not necessarily in that order. So you're just going to have to tune in each week and find out what the topic is.
You have to listen every time for the magic.
Are you excited?
I am stoked.
Well, then let's get started. And what you can do is, like we said before, go to jocolibrary.org/didyouhear. Look for that subscription blog post that we have there, and that'll give you the instructions on how to subscribe. Or you can just go to jocolibrary.podbean.com, and you can subscribe there. You'll need to download the Podbean app for that. So be sure to subscribe and get ready for our fall theme, which is, once again,
Unlocking the Mind.
and we have so many great programs that are coming up, and we have a lot of great topics and episodes for the podcast, and we'll dive into all kinds of stuff that is going to really enhance your life and give you some inside perspective on the library, and hopefully some entertainment as well.
Just a little.
Did we miss a question you wish we would have asked? Do you have thoughts or stories about today's topic? Share them with us on Facebook, facebook.com/JocoLibrary.
And now, our writer's quote of the day.
Hi, David. My name is Zoann Merryfield. I am a page at Shawnee. My author is Michael Chabon from Wonder Boys, and the quote reads as follows. Sarah would read anything you handed her. Jean Riss, Jean Shepherd, Jean Genet, at a steady rate of 65 pages an hour, grimly and unsparingly and without apparent pleasure. She read upon waking, sitting on the toilet, stretched out in the back seat of the car, When she went to the movies, she took a book with her to read before the show began, and it was not unusual to find her standing in front of the microwave with a book in one hand and a fork in the other, heating a cup of noodle soup while she read, say, At Lady Molly's for the third time. She was a sucker for series and linked novels. If there was nothing else, she would consume all the magazines and newspapers in the house. Reading to her was a kind of pyromania, and when these ran out, she would reach for insurance brochures, hotel prospectuses, and product warranties, advertising circulars, sheets of coupons. Once I had come upon the spectacle of Sarah, finished with a volume of C.P. Snow, while only partway through one of the long baths she took for her bad back, desperately scanning the label on a bottle of Listerine.
We leave you with sounds from one of our locations. It's your audio minute we call Library Zen.
For more episodes of Did You Hear, go to the Johnson County Library website, jocolibrary.org/didyouhear.